I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 50. This one is with Josh Wells and Chris Alsip. Josh is a teacher, and every year during the summer break, he goes on adventures in Europe. He's figured out how to do it in a budget-conscious way, and I thought it'd be good to have him on the podcast to kind of talk about that and talk about what got him into it. Chris is also friends with Josh, in addition to me, an avid Ramblin' Man listener, and I thought he would be good to kind of tag team on this one to ask Josh some of the questions I couldn't think of. Our sponsor this week is It's Also Yummy Cafe and Hilton Head Ice Cream. It's Also Yummy Cafe is located in West Knoxville here in Tennessee. They are a gourmet grilled cheese sandwich shop, but so much more. They also have tremendous soups and desserts, and their ice cream is bar none some of the best I've ever had. It's all custom made ice cream, and it's so delicious. Recently, they've added sundaes to their menu, and I am trying to work my way through each one of those. You can find out more information on them by visiting them online at it'salsoyummy.com or find them on Facebook or Instagram. Follow along and see what their monthly specials are. We thank them for being a sponsor of this episode. Without much further ado, here's the episode. So you have you listened to a bunch of them?
I've listened to just maybe like 3 or 4.
Because I remember you have texted me randomly.
Yeah. I listened to you and Sean.
That was the one on the porch where I was talking about my trip.
And cigars.
Yep.
And I did that for a longer. And then I listened to the fatherhood one.
Yep.
And parts 1 and 2 of the epic dating. That was like doing a Lord of the Rings marathon.
Oh my God. And you haven't listened to any of them, so you don't know what you're in for.
Yeah, I've listened to nothing. I have no idea what's going on. So.
Little do you know.
But I have done subscribe and rate 5 stars.
Slap that like button.
I'll go ahead and do the shameless plug for you.
Yeah.
And your listeners should do that.
It did not dawn on me until like a week ago that I could rate my own podcast 5 stars. I kept seeing it and I was like, yeah, it's doing pretty good. It's got like 10 or 15 5 stars. I was like, I haven't rated it. Well, haven't I rated? Son of a bit. And I just rated my own podcast.
Jury's still out. You're thinking about your own body of work.
Well, what's funny is one of my other ones has 1 1-star review. Or 1 1-star rating, no review. And I don't know why they've rated it 1 star. And it cracks me up because it's like, so I rated it 5 stars myself.
They're hoping it was a cooking show.
To try and balance it out. Yeah. Yeah, the other one is called unofficial plug, Why Knox, that I do for Visit Knoxville. And it has 1 1-star review. Or right now it has 1 5-star, 1 1-star. And I don't understand why. Unless they just don't like me, don't like the questions I'm asking. Don't know. It's a lot shorter. It's only like 20 to 30 minutes. It's a lot more pointed. So
is it too long? Is it too short?
Yeah. Considering one of them's like 12 minutes long, it shouldn't be too long. Okay. So by trade, you are a teacher.
I'm a teacher, social studies, history, government, personal finance, all of the above.
Elementary?
High school.
Fuck. Weren't you at an elementary school for a while?
When I was like 5 or 6.
But, oh, Jesus. Here we go. Here comes the dad jokes already.
You practice those.
For some reason, I thought you were at Norwood for a while.
No, I've been at Powell.
Okay.
My whole career.
Okay. And Chris, you are not a teacher and don't want to ever go back to school. And
No. I was having nightmares the other day of not having my assignments done. I was like, I guess I'll take a 0, but I can make it up. No. Do not want to go back.
So what, did you know you wanted to be a teacher from a younger age?
Maybe. No, it's, you always hear people say, like, oh, I was drawn to this. I was born for this. It's my calling, and I don't know if that exists. But I did, as a kid, work at a summer camp.
Okay.
Kind of by happen chance, I was there at the camp, and a guy that was in our troop said, you should stay the rest of the summer and work. And at 14, I became a teacher. And
God. Okay.
dabbled in that for a bit. For 4 or 5 years there.
And even then, you weren't sure.
Well, there's no money in it.
Oh.
And you have people that you know who are teachers at your church, and they say, you might not want to go into teaching. It's not as good as it used to be, and there's no money in it. And I don't know that any of those are true. There's not a lot of money in it, but it pays a lot better than anything any of my family was doing.
Yeah. I wonder if a lot of people don't also see what they make and don't average out that there's 3 months a year that they don't work.
So that's kind of the deal. It's a 200-day contract. So
Okay.
we don't exactly have summers off. We just aren't on contract, so you do whatever you want with that time because
Right.
you're not employed.
Right. Okay. And you got to college. Was that your only major in college?
No, I was going to be a pharmacist for like 2 weeks.
2 whole weeks?
Chemistry was
Oh, Jesus.
really difficult. And then
You
I
might
wondered,
need that.
yeah, just the thought of 7.5 more years of it, it wasn't going to work out.
Good Lord.
I'd be on the news for, I don't know, so many dead people.
Oh, my God.
From the wrong medicines or whatever.
You're going to be like from It's a Wonderful Life. Have you seen It's a Wonderful Life?
Familiar,
There's a
but not
a
with
druggist
what-
at the beginning who puts the wrong thing into some pills,
Oh, maybe I haven't seen
and
it.
he was drunk.
I don't
And
remember that part.
yeah, I've seen that movie way too many times. So Chris,
Yes.
do you want to talk about what you do for a living? No,
No.
Okay.
That's a whole different.
That'll be a different episode.
Yes. That's a whole different
I keep
episode.
threatening you and Gerald. I want to have you and Gerald on to talk about what you all do. Because my friend Gerald used to do what you do. And now he's a salesperson at a newspaper.
Oh.
Which cracks me up. I was like, do you have stories? He's like, oh, I have a lot of stories.
Sometimes you just need the career change.
Yeah. I think he was actually at Brushy Mountain for a long time.
Which is now, I believe, a museum.
Yep.
Yep.
Which I freaked out. One of my friends is a stand-up comedian, Billy Wayne Davis, and I saw him when I was out in San Francisco last time, and he's lived in L.A. forever. And it was him and 2 guys from San Francisco, and they were bringing him medical supplies in a big bag that smelled very earthy, if you know what I mean. And he won't give a shit. He's pretty open about that, but he kept pointing at me. He would tell those guys stories and then point back at me and he goes, he's where I'm from. He knows what I'm talking about. He's from outside of Cookeville, Tennessee. He's like, he knows what I'm talking about. He's from where I'm from. So I was like, I got a new one for you. And he's like, what's that? And I was like, Brushy Mountain is now a museum and a tourist destination. He was like, no. It's like, even better. One of my friends, when he got married, him and his dad rode their motorcycles out to it for his bachelor party. And he started walking away. He was like, what in the fuck? I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. He's like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, he looked at those guys. That's where I'm from. Now a place where they murdered people is now you can stop and get a sandwich.
It's family friendly.
It's family friendly. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody fried. There's no ghosts in there.
No.
Sandwiches are fried, though.
Yeah.
They cook them on a damn chair. Oh my God.
Sparky.
I wonder. I told him, I was like, if they don't do haunted tours there during Halloween, they're idiots. They've got to do haunted tours.
Surely. I mean, it's built for a haunted house.
I know.
I mean, it's built to keep inmates who kill and maim and rape, but it works as a haunted house. I think.
See, I promised we would circle back around. So, when did you first get the idea of traveling what did you used to do in your summers off before you started traveling?
Oh, it just worked. I was unbelievably broke. So
Okay.
every summer was an opportunity to make as much money as possible.
Okay. Restaurants?
Restaurant, yeah. Worked at the old Outback Steakhouse. Slung steaks there for 9 years.
Good Lord.
So, really the first 8 years I taught. Just quit 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And so basically just worked, maybe hit up a music festival. New York City or something was about as far away as I would get.
Okay.
And I guess 6 years ago now, one of my friends hit me up mid-April. They're going to England to see a military show. You should come with us. Well, I can't afford that. It's April. That's in 2 months.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what if we get your hotels and stuff and I'll give you some money for a flight? Kind of perked up and thought, oh, well, sure.
Yeah.
I'm in. And over the next couple of months was able to save up $500-600 and cut out for a week on my own. Stayed in some hostels for the first time and came back thinking, okay, what do I have to do this more?
Okay, so I have many questions. And I'm going to say a few of them so I don't forget. You're not a small guy fitting in a hostel. Blows my mind. That's one. Number two is, have you gotten better at finding cheap airfare? So we'll start there.
Okay, as far as fitting in the hostel beds, lucky in that they're usually that twin long.
Okay.
So my feet only hang over sort of. But occasionally you do run into places where it just doesn't work.
Okay.
This last summer we were in a mountain hut and it had 4 bunk beds in it. The only thing was each bunk bed slept 5 people. Like,
okay.
You laid across and each bed got maybe 36 inches.
Good
and
Lord.
so you were really packed in there, and we were on the top bunk with the roof line above us. Hit my head like 4 times that night. It's not the best fit, but it is ungodly cheap compared to hotels, Airbnbs, and all
Okay.
that. As far as airfare, it is ridiculously cheap now compared to what it used to be.
Do you
I
do
mean,
Scott's Cheap Flights or any of that?
Yeah, I follow Scott's Cheap Flights. There's another airfare watchdog, and they send some good flights. And I've gotten into the airline miles game lately. So 2 summers ago, I flew round trip on miles. Last summer, I flew here to Germany, first class, which was super cool.
Holy
and it was
shit.
like 60,000 miles one way. So the equivalent of $600. And so, but I mean, now it is not uncommon to get out of New York to Europe for $400 or $500 round trip.
And you can get into New York. Like, I remember I booked a flight to New York for $150 round trip. I found the deal, and I was like, just bought the ticket. I was like, I'll figure out the other shit once I get there.
Oh, it's great. And you're not on Allegiant anymore.
No.
Like, you're flying American or Delta for that.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Okay. So, but when you first started, so you had a friend that was, that kind of helped you with that. Had they been a bunch to where they kind of guided you on what to do?
Yeah. They were a little bit older than me by quite a bit, but just thought it would be fun for me to go, and turned out it was a lot of fun. And from there, I kind of realized that it wasn't something that like rich people do. And it wasn't just something that really broke 18-year-olds do because they want to find themselves or whatever.
Okay. And so you went. Let's see. So you went with that person the first time. Did you?
Yeah, it was a group of 4 of us.
Oh, okay. But more recently have you started going solo?
Yes, I cut out from them, went solo for about a week, and the past 4 summers, I think, maybe 5, 4 to 5 summers, I've been solo.
So how many times have you done this?
I think 5.
5
I
times?
don't know. It's weird. It starts to blur together, as all the years kind of do.
So your first time you went, did you feel like you need to cram in as much as you could because you weren't sure you were going to do it again, then came back and be like, shit, I didn't do all this?
Oh, God, yes. It was the worst travel plan. I mean, I had a barnstorm schedule, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I was hitting up a city every 2 to 3 days.
Oh, you only went for like a week and a half the first time.
The first was short. So we were in England for about a week, and then I cut out for another week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And it was stupid. It was like Budapest for 2 days, Prague for 2 days, Berlin for 2 days. And what you don't realize is while those are sort of close to one another,
yeah,
it eats half a day or a day of travel.
Right.
If the train's late, the plane's delayed, the plane is canceled. You just have to account for that.
Once you get over there, I'm assuming there are some places it's cheaper to just fly there, hop, or versus the train. Is the train pretty expensive, or
it depends?
Can it be? Yeah.
If you plan ahead, the trains are, I think, quite affordable. Usually 90 days out, you can book with like Deutsche Bahn or Český dráhy, which is the Czech trains, or OBB for the Austrian. And you're going to get the best fares, maybe 19, 20 euros in Germany, as cheap as $5 or $6 in Czech Republic. But as you get closer to the travel date, it is ungodly expensive in Germany.
Oh,
on the
okay.
trains. Yeah.
Okay. Is Brexit going to screw up this trip in the future?
It might a little, in that, well, I'll say this. It's really nice for traveling to England and Scotland.
Right.
The exchange rate is beautiful as an American. But it may mess up depending on reciprocity. Like, you're no longer just flying. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's going to mess them up more than us.
Okay.
Yeah. For them, whether or not they work out a deal, I don't know if you're from England, do you need a visa now for the EU? Is it a visa on arrival?
Right.
The biggest change for us is that we have managed to tick off the EU.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being able to just show up, I think starting next year, you have to get a visa. It's kind of like our ESTA that people get. You fill out a form online, they say sure, but it's no longer just show up.
With a passport.
Yeah.
And a smile.
Exactly. Anywhere but Russia and like Belarus.
Russia?
I
We
can
have
just
ties to
roll in.
Russia? I don't
It
understand.
costs like $300 to get a visa to Russia.
Really?
In a couple of weeks, I think.
Okay. Have you done the what's it called when you fly, the shit, you can pay for it, the where you go through security really fast? Why am I blanking
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
so my credit card came with a
What the hell is that called?
the global entry and pre-check.
Pre-check.
Yeah, my
And the global entry.
credit card came with that.
Nice.
Had to drive to Atlanta to get it. You go through an interview. It's really weird. The guy stares at you to make sure you're not lying.
Well, the
you're not,
pre-check,
like,
you can just do it
threat.
like a UPS store. I didn't realize the global entry you had to travel.
Yeah, the pre-check's a lot easier, but if you get global entry, it comes with pre-check.
Okay.
So in Tyson, it's beautiful. Like, Tyson's a mess now, flying out daily.
It's
But if
gotten,
you have
it's gotten
pre-check,
better. The last time I flew, they've upped how many people were at TSA, and it went a lot faster.
that's nice.
I need to knock on
Yeah.
fucking wood when I say that.
Well, you never know. Is it going to be 30 minutes? Is it going to be 2 hours?
Yeah.
But pre-check, I've never waited longer than like 3 people.
Yeah.
So it's
And-
nice.
Yeah, and they've got that separate line now for pre-check, which is great.
It's just right through.
Yeah. I
It's
need to do
especially
that.
great at like JFK. It's awesome.
There's a friend of mine, Brandy, that travels a lot, and when she jumped on pre-check when it first started, and that's back when you had to go and renew it every year. So that's what I thought it was, and then
Now it's
somebody
3 or
recently
5
was
years.
like, "It's like 5 years now." It's like, well, shit, I need to do that.
Oh, if you fly once, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked in this summer flying home. I came through New York and stayed a night next day to LaGuardia, which is generally a mess. And I was from my friend's place in Queens through security in 45 minutes.
Jesus. Yeah, Pointner told me he got the global pre-check, and he said coming back and going through customs is so much easier.
Oh, you go to a kiosk, they take a little picture of you, you say, no, I have not brought any meats or fruits or seeds or
Yeah.
diseases or whatever.
Pay no mind to the Cuban cigars and the
Exactly.
alcohol that I
You
have.
just bury them
Yeah.
down in the bag. I'm told
Yeah.
you do that. You don't.
Damn it, I should hit you up. Cubans are not that good.
I feel like it's like scarcity, right? Things
Yes.
are good because you haven't, you can't get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like 5 minutes, you're through. If
Holy
you don't have a
shit.
checked bag, you're out of the airport, onto the train in no time.
Because I think Pointner and them, they go to Belize, like through Scott's cheap flights, they keep finding cheap Belize trips, and they'll go in like January when it's cold. And they go down there and they're like, it's expensive as shit to get around Belize, but we get tickets for like $200 or
When
something.
you've flown for nothing, it's...
Yeah. It kind of balances out. Do you have any before we... Oh, do you have... Look at you.
I'm
you have-
prepared. So you were talking about earlier how what got you into teaching was like when you worked at camp at the scout camp, which is, for those that don't know, is how we met, 'cause we worked at the scout camp together. So like what has like scouting like influenced your travel, like through like bringing out the adventure?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have thought of it, but I think the conditions we lived in at the summer camp were somewhat like a hostel. So we lived at this camp we worked at, Camp Buck Tom's, in trailers. And each trailer had 4 rooms, I believe.
Yeah.
And each of those rooms had somewhere between 4 and 8 bunk beds, which is basically what you get when you go to hostels. You are in a room with 4 to 32 people, which I would not recommend. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do it, but if at all possible, pay the little bit extra money for 4 to 8 people. It's worth it. But I think that kind of creates in you the sense of adventure, the sense that, like, yeah, I can sleep in a room with other people. It's not a big deal. You lose some of your bubble. So, yeah, and consider it, but yeah.
Have there ever been like any sketchy places that you stayed at? You're like, oh, that was not what I thought.
The sketchiest situation, I did not feel unsafe, but I was at a hostel in Prague. Awesome hostel, Carpe Noctem OG. It is party hostel, sort of. This was on my first trip over, and I get in, meet the staff, go into my room, sit down, and the guy in my bunk, oh, nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so from India. Hey, nice to meet you. Josh from the U.S. He goes, yeah, last night, my friend I'm traveling with, she was having sex in the bunk. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That must be, like, really weird that your friend is doing that. And he says, oh, no, don't worry. I never turned down a free show.
Oh my.
It's so, I'm just going to get out of here. See you later. That's really the worst I've had, and that's good, you know?
Oh yeah.
No bed bugs, no...
You better knock on wood, man. I'm gonna knock on wood for you.
Yeah. We thought a place. I had a spot on my side, and I thought, oh, God, here it comes. It's the bed bugs. And I think it was just a mosquito. The window was open.
To piggyback off of that, have you been in any situations where you didn't feel safe? And to addendum to that, do you feel like because you're a bigger dude that you don't have to feel unsafe?
I definitely have it easier.
Okay.
There is no doubt in my mind. I have never had a situation where I felt like I am in danger.
Okay.
We have had some of the scam situations. Basically, it's the honeypot scam. It works that you're out at night, you're drinking, 2, 3 in the morning. Beautiful girl walks up to you. Hey, my friend and I want to go out for drinks. We know this place with really cheap shots. And what happens is they take you to this place, and the shots are very, very cheap. But the mixer is maybe $100.
Jeez.
And a giant Russian will escort you to the ATM if you don't have the money on you, and you will get that money out and give it to them, or they'll just beat the hell out of you. And I knew about this from the guy that I went to England with the first trip because it happened to him when he was a younger man.
Never go to a third location.
Exactly. know what you're doing. Stay with your hostel friends. If somebody's being really nice for no reason, especially a beautiful girl at 3 in the morning, and you are a overweight 30-something balding man, probably that's not your thing. So I grabbed my friend from the hostel and was like, no, thank you. We're good. We're going.
We'll pass on the giant Russians.
Pass on the giant Russians. Pass on getting beat up. Common scam. You can see it pretty much anywhere.
Okay. Pickpockets? I've heard Italy's really bad for pickpockets.
Yeah, I've not had trouble personally, but you really have to watch out. If you aren't comfortable with it, get the little money pouch that sits under your shirt or on your waistband. That's great. I keep my wallet in the front pocket. I keep my passport in my front pocket. I keep my hand in that pocket when I'm on crowded trains. Never separate yourself from your bag. My only exception is if I'm like first class on a train.
Yeah.
You got it a little bit better, but you really just have to be proactive. It's
okay.
Usually crimes of convenience that these guys go after.
See, I'd feel super uncomfortable in the hostel that while I was sleeping, someone would just steal my shit.
It can happen. There are great websites. Hostelworld.com is my favorite. You get great reviews. It shows you pictures of the rooms. You generally are going to have a locker. Bring your own lock. Lock all your stuff up. And don't leave anything valuable that you just can't stand to lose.
Okay.
So unless I really trust the hostel, I don't leave my passport in the room. Several hostels will have a safe that you can put your passport in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just don't give these assholes a chance. Don't carry all your money around, all your credit cards around in one wallet. Separate them, have a couple $100 just stuffed in a bag somewhere. So if something goes wrong, if you get robbed, pickpocketed, whatever, you got a couple $100 for a few days, you got your other debit card, and you're good to go. You're inconvenienced, not ruined.
Okay.
But as far as safety, I will say women have it a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like, we're fortunate in that we don't experience
Jesus.
the overbearing men, I don't want to say like sexual assaults, but that can happen.
On
but
the flip side, don't leave your beer unoccupied, even as a dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could be the way you get robbed.
Yeah.
Just be safe. Stay with your friends. Stay with people from the hostel. Just like you would do here.
Yeah. Oh.
But I would say we've got it easier. We've got it a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's not to dissuade anyone, any females, but I've heard the stories, and a lot of people think, coming from these girls, that, oh, you're being nice to me, so that must mean you're into me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Especially some hitchhiking's big in Europe, and frequently when you hitchhike, I don't. People think like, oh, I've picked you up, so that means, wink, wink.
You owe me something.
You owe me something.
Cool.
And just be careful.
I'm going to go very blue. All right, yeah, you pick me up. I'm going to let you blow me.
That's exactly
the opposite. I'm saying the opposite of what you're...
I'm going
to let you blow.
I was going to say, met a friend, she's from Sweden, and literally she got in the car, and as they went along, the guy said, so I picked you up, so you're going to do this, right?
Yeah.
And she said, please pull the car over.
Yeah.
Or they've taken her to a place that wasn't where she asked. And
yeah.
I was like, I might just take the train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that really worth it? But it's a rite of passage for Europeans, I guess, hitchhiking.
Good Lord.
So do you ever have any language barriers?
Generally, no. Almost everywhere you go, anybody under 30 speaks really, really good English. Anybody from Scandinavia speaks better English than we do. But as you go east, it starts to drop. Former Soviet Union, even in Germany, older people speak German and Russian. Maybe a little English is their broken language if you're 50, 60, 70 years old. In Ukraine, very, very few people speak English. Even in service industries, it's broken or limited. Think kind of like the amount of Spanish you learned in high school.
Yeah.
Right.
That's about what you'll get. So having, for me, a SIM card with Google Translate is big, but really there's not been a problem. Dominican Republic was actually a problem. That's impossible. If you're outside of the resort, good luck.
Yeah.
Nobody speaks English. But in Europe, no problems.
So I remember when you posted, speaking of language barriers, when you did karaoke one night. How did that go again?
Oh, which karaoke night?
I just saw one of those
recently this summer.
Right, it was broken English there.
Oh my goodness, yes. So we were in Riga, Latvia, and we went out to karaoke at this place called, it's like the Flirty Fox or the Naughty Squirrel or something like that.
If it's not, it should be called. There should be 2 bars in Knoxville opened up with those names.
It's one of those. So we go to the karaoke, and our hostel, we're kind of making the karaoke. We're doing it. We're crushing the hits. Franz Ferdinand, all of the above. And we think, okay, we'll do some Rammstein. We had a German with us, and the guy said, no, we don't do Rammstein here. He's like, but you've got 40 of their tracks in the book. No. Okay, we'll do Africa, Toto. If you're not familiar with the song, Africa is a famous song by a band
Weezer song.
It's that Weezer song.
Yeah.
And I love the song personally, but my God, if there was a way to grind something into the ground, we have found it. So we're like, we're going to sing the thing. We're going to do it. And we get to the chorus, and instead of I bless the rains down in Africa, it is I guess it rains down in Africa.
Oh my God.
Over and over and over. Which killed us, crushed us.
Yeah.
We're laughing. The DJ doesn't know why we're laughing. He doesn't see anything funny about this. Sing the words on the screen, guys. But
did you say it like, I guess there's rain in Africa?
We did the shoulder shrugs. We was like, I guess it rains down in Africa.
You leaned into it, yeah. So, although I can't hear an accent with you.
It doesn't, I don't know why. That doesn't make sense. That's a whole other thing.
Well, my question is, like, when you get over... God, see, this is Rambling Man. This is how my mind works. When you do karaoke, do they expect you to perform like Johnny Cash or country music because you're Southern?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's...
or they just don't even pay attention, you just pick the song?
A lot of people have no sense of where Tennessee is. So when I say, I'm from Tennessee, is that near Florida? It's like, well, it's compared
Relative to here? Yes.
Yeah, if we're thinking Montana or Florida, it's the South. But...
No, I mean relative to the Ukraine. Yes. It's close to Florida.
No, the biggest questions are they've heard of Jack Daniels, Tennessee, so they know Jack Daniels. And somehow, some way, Smoky Mountain Moonshine is sold across Europe.
Really?
Sitting in a bar in Prague, having a burger, I look up and there is Harley Davidson Old Smoky Moonshine. And I swear to God, in Prague, the land of $2 beers, tops, like don't pay more than $2 for a beer. It is like $11 a shot.
Oh, yeah.
And I told them, I was like, we only go drink that here for free at the tastings.
Yeah.
This isn't moonshine.
No.
No offense, but it's... So that's about there.
Has anybody ever commented on your accent? Because I can't... Here, this is going to be I've now determined this is a take a drink thing anytime I say this. I can't hear I have an accent because I've met people in Maynardville that I need subtitles to understand what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah,
so.
Compared to, I don't know, Canada, I have an accent. But when
even
they
somebody
say
from
like...
Ohio, you're still kind of even keeled.
It's kind of weird because I'm from here. I'm from Lenore City. It doesn't make sense, honestly.
Even
And
worse, man. It's not
it comes naturally. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And so I usually say, "Oh, you've seen Inglorious Bastards, right?
Yeah.
You know, Brad Pitt. I speak the most Italian. Like it's
Yeah.
like that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
So people sound like that where I'm from.
Yeah.
That's kind of my. They've all seen it.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. That's I'm fluent though in Southern.
I was going to say I've been known to crank it up a little bit when I'm in places to mess with people, or if the story is I was in New York once and some guy was messing with me, and I just dipped into that accent and he patted me on chest and walked away.
And it's some of the words too. You'll say fixin'. That's
Fixin', wrecking.
my German friend that I hike with each summer. She says, "What is fixin'?"
Yeah.
And so they have a blast. Like, what are some other things you say? I was like, I don't know, like, that there computer.
Yeah.
They're like, why would you say that and there? It's like, well, it's just that there computer. But they do that in German.
Yeah.
Like, they'll say that in German. They'll say that there, but obviously it's
Yeah.
German.
Y'all. All y'all,
Y'all.
and y'all.
Y'all is becoming a little more popular.
Okay.
It's ain't. I don't see as much, but I've seen Europeans say y'all. It's strange. I don't. Must
Once
be
I get to
television.
all y'all.
All
I'm-
y'all.
yeah. Or yuns.
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 All yuns. We've drifted.
Oh, go on.
Oh, no.
We've
I,
drifted off topic. We're
no. I've got tons of questions
We're
left.
drifting in the wind. Okay.
So what about like breweries? Do you like brewery hop there, or
Yes.
How are they different?
I really, really focused early on beer centric travel. So I wanted to go to like every beer region in Germany. I wanted the Kolsch in Cologne. I wanted the Gose in Leipzig. I wanted Helles and Martin in Bavaria. Like, I really wanted to try all this. I go to Czech Republic, I want the Pilsner, and I seek out those breweries, and it's really cool getting back to the old styles. It's a new appreciation, I think, of beer when we're so maybe IPA crazy here. It's
Yeah.
nice to have a good Pilsner or a good lager. But they're getting in on the craft beer stuff as well. If you've heard of Brewdog, they're out of Scotland. You can get it here in the U.S. some now. That's kind of cool. I've been to Brewdog bars, probably 7 or 8 of them in 4 or 5 different countries. And this summer went to Pilsen to go to Pilsner Urquell, to that brewery. I've been to the summer as well to Ypres, near where West of Letteren, probably known as the best beer in the world, was brewed, and I was going to go out to the brewery and try to get some, and the man at my hotel said, well, I've got it in the vending machine here. He's got the best beer in the world for
Oh my
€5 in a vending machine.
Oh my God.
And if I had that bottle right here, tonight somebody would pay me $30 for it.
Wow. Okay.
did you ever get to go to that the beer bathhouse?
No, that has eluded me. There are a couple, but the one I really wanted to go to was in Austria, and you bathe in beer, and then you lay down in some straw, and they like bundle you up or something. But I just think, like, what is more relaxing than a nice beer bath? And it might be terrible. I don't know.
When I'm hearing that, I'm like, that sounds like something you would do to a cow. Roll you in straw and
They say, like, maybe you shouldn't drink the beer that you're bathing in, but
Oh,
I think,
cool.
like, we've all accidentally got bathwater in our mouths before as kids. Like, would that be the worst? Like, oh no, I accidentally drank some beer.
I imagine it helps you grow chest hair when you bathe in it.
I'm not imagining you as a joke. I think you should walk in there with a big ass straw.
Swirly straw.
Yeah.
No, but I think the beer tourism is a great way to see countries. Beer is culture. I mean, we do that here. When we get together and crack a beer. And in London, in England, Greater England, the local is where you would go for news, for politics. The colonies, America was founded by guys drinking in a bar.
Yeah.
And I think that is culture, and you really see average people you see what they're proud of, and a lot of these towns over there, man, it's the beer's their local team.
It's wild. There's a comedian, Daniel Sloss, who was recently on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and he's from England. And he was talking about, he was like, thing I don't like about America, he was like, over there we drink cider. He's like, y'all don't really drink cider here. And as we're in the foothills of like Gypsy Circus, I'm like, we drink cider over here. It's just not as prevalent, maybe, as it is up there.
Yeah, I think we don't have the heritage with it. It's and I, to be fair, don't drink a lot of cider when I'm over there. It's not my favorite, but I do like trying the local spirits as well.
Oh,
You've got your local beers, but everywhere's got their spirit.
right.
So that might be rakia or grappa or
Ouzo in Greece.
oh yeah, I mean it's all basically like moonshine that some grandmother made in her bathtub, and they put it in rinsed out 2-liter bottles and sell it on the roadside, and everybody knows a guy, and so it's kind of like being from here. So
Yeah.
you got your guy, and this is the local swill, and so it's really nice going around and drinking their local shot.
Okay. All right. So you've mentioned beer at $2, and you've tried spirits. So is beer relatively cheap, and are spirits a little bit more? Like, how does that? Or does it? I know. I'm sure it varies, but
It really varies. I've paid as much as $11 or $12 a beer in Copenhagen,
okay.
and I've paid maybe as little as 40 or 50 cents for a beer in Ukraine.
Holy shit.
Are they like quality beers for that price?
In Copenhagen, super good beers. Mikkeller, which you can get around here. In Ukraine, I have no idea. It was just the beer. It was in, was it Cyrillic? And it was like, I'll have that one.
And it was 40 cents or
Something like that. I mean, it's the Ukraine's the only place in the world where it is truly, that I've been to, that is just monopoly money. You just spend, you don't care what it is. You do the exchange later, and it's like, oh, that was $4 for dinner. Oh, it took a 45-minute Uber for $14.
Wow.
It's stupid.
Wait, you use Uber over there?
As much as possible.
Oh my god. I didn't realize it had made its way over there.
Some countries banned it. Germany banned it. But a lot of countries use it. Those that don't have maybe like the heavy taxi lobby that prevents it. But there are other companies like Bolt. Occasionally, I think Lyft. And some countries have apps like Uber for their taxis so that you know that you're getting into a legit place. That is like number one scam in Europe is just getting into a car with a taxi driver.
Okay.
You don't know that they're going to be honest, and maybe your $3 or $4 ride is suddenly $30 because the meter was broken. This is a fixed rate. If you do take a taxi somewhere, always negotiate your rate before you get in.
Really?
And it's easier to say how much to take me to the train station. He'll say whatever the exchange is, 300 krona, and you say 300 to the train station. 300. Okay. And then don't pay a penny more. And
Okay.
Threaten the police if they cop an attitude, but just try to use Uber. It's easier and it's cheap.
Okay. Trying to think. Okay, so beer, it kind of varies. The kind of local stuff, was it relatively cheap because it was kind of small batch, or was it kind of expensive?
Yeah, I think you could. You should probably drink the local stuff.
Okay.
Czech Republic, land of Pilsner. When you're in Czech Republic.
Oh, I
drink-
meant the alcohol where you're talking about like the grappa and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, honestly, I don't remember because it wasn't much. It was
Yeah.
enough to where we didn't think about...
Was it a big
well,
enough ball where you kind of split it between people?
We'd usually just get shots.
Oh,
so
okay.
they would have it on the shelf, unlabeled, and you would just get a couple shots of whatever. Like some places in Italy, some of the mountain huts we stayed in had various flavors, and just say, what's your favorite?
Yeah.
Never did the bottle have a label on it. Never was it made with any sort of health regulations in mind. And it varied between really, really good and like paint thinner.
If it was really good, could you buy a bottle to take with you?
It's hard to come by. I asked in Italy, and he said, "Nah, just get this from my cousin or whatever. He comes every so often."
A friend.
There are some spirits though that you can get.
Okay. There's a friend he went to Scotland when he was like 22, 23, and found a place where you could buy a bottle from any year. So he bought a bottle from the year he was born and drank it when he was 25. And he said his goal is, but before he turns 40, because he's 36, 37, it's like, before I turn 40, I want to go back and buy another bottle from the year I was born and drink it when I turn 40.
That's
and
insane.
I said, as long as I can share that bottle with you, I will be there.
But you should just go with him when he goes to get it.
Yeah, I should buy a bottle, I guess, and save it until I turn 50. Holy shit.
With as cheap as flights are, you'd be stupid not to.
I know. So, do you ever bring stuff back? Can you? I'm sure there's limits and all that.
I don't really buy any souvenirs or bring anything back. I usually get some magnets. I travel out of one bag.
Okay.
I do carry on only. I do have eventual plans of coming through maybe Belgium on the way home and packing a suitcase full and bringing it back.
Okay.
You can do that. It's legal up to a certain amount, a couple liters, I think. A lot of people bring wine or beers that they can't get here, but I just haven't.
Okay.
It's kind of, I'm cheap, and when I fly the cheap flight home from New York, where I usually lay over, I don't want to pay for the luggage.
Oh, okay.
And you'll be back next time.
And I'll be
You
back,
have-
yeah.
Then.
It's like, you think it's a once in a lifetime, but it
Right.
truly isn't. It's just as easy as, I mean, you work and save up money, but that's the extent of the difficulty.
Yeah. So do you think you could do your travels pre-internet age?
I think you could, but I think it would not be as, I don't want to say fun, because I think it would be awesome, but I don't think it would be as efficient.
Right.
And so if you have a limited time and have things you want to see, it would be difficult to find your way around, to overcome language barriers. I mean, like traveling in the 70s, 80s, there must have been a language barrier.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the benefits of technology. It makes life so much easier.
That and even with your planning of how much you use the internet, like
Oh my gosh, everything's on there.
you need a travel agent.
Yeah, exactly. There's no travel agent needed. You've got Rick Steves. He's your travel agent. He's traveled all over Europe, watches videos on YouTube. He's a big nerd, but I love him. You have all sorts of awful travel videos, but they have decent content. It's just that the audio's stupid or they're stupid. And, oh, hey guys, just... it's not quality television, but you get to see, oh, that's what Ukraine looks like. Oh, what's that big statue? Okay, I'm going to write that down. And just compile lists and ideas and eventually start to put those into your spreadsheet and create some coherent sense of a travel plan.
Before you go, do you look for music? Look for bands you'd like to see, or do you kind of lean towards local music?
I always give a quick search as, like, when I start the planning stages. So about this time of year, I'm thinking of ideas. Where would I like to go? What would I like to see? In the spring, I start looking for festivals, concerts, cultural events, sometimes events to avoid. You need to know, hey, if this country's hosting, say, a big soccer tournament or something.
Yeah.
Unless you want to go to that soccer tournament, you might not want to go.
Yeah.
Look at prices. Look, is it going to be a religious holiday and everything's closed and you can't go see that castle or whatever? But I have seen Foo Fighters in Prague.
Nice.
Planned around that. Woke up at whatever ungodly time in the morning it was here to buy the tickets when they went on sale because Foo Fighters will never play Knoxville. And then as I'm in Prague, I swear to God, as I'm in Prague, the day I'm going to see the concert, they announced that they were playing in Knoxville. But it was still a cool show. All those guys in Czech Republic knew every word to every song.
How big was the stadium they played in?
It was a full arena. I would say
shit.
every bit as big as Thompson Bowling.
Well,
There must have been 20,000 people
Did
there.
y'all hear the news today about the big show?
About Garth
Oh,
Brooks
the,
coming to
the
Neyland.
Garth Brooks at Neyland Stadium.
I mean, when you can sell beer.
Yeah, I need to
But
go.
also,
I'd say-
the thing that blows my mind, I think the cheapest ticket's like $98.
That's weird now. That's the price for these big acts. $100 is not, and I'm still like, you sure it's not 35?
I don't want to spend $98 to sit up in the nosebleeds. I actually kind of want to go to that show. I also don't want to pay $400 to sit
No.
where I sit for football.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot I could do for that much money.
I know.
It's like 4 days in Europe.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was big news today. It kind of blew my mind that he was playing Neyland during football season. That he's not playing in the spring when they're out, you know. That kind of blew my mind. Okay, so Foo Fighters in Prague. Are there any other smaller acts? Like,
Well, I tried to see Rammstein in Munich, and it sold out immediately. I was trying to buy tickets for that from February on.
okay.
And that would have been awesome. I'm sure it was a great time, but no secondary resale market in Germany. It's illegal.
Oh.
So you are just kind of out of luck.
And do you kind of look for local music while you're there?
I'll catch some occasionally. Street fairs, festivals, things like that, outdoor festivals. It's kind of fun to go see a cover band or something. If possible, I'll try to go see town events, like cultural events in Garmisch-Partenkirchen down in Bavaria. We just happened to be there during their Festwoche, their big celebration of the town. And they had the Oompa bands and the Lederhosen and the Dirndl and big steins of beer and the tent, and it was kind of a mini Oktoberfest.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's always fun just to, if you can do something cultural.
Have you ever been able to do Oktoberfest around that time?
No,
or
that's,
just
so
school
that's
gets in the way?
That's the downside of being a teacher, is that you go on vacation when vacation's given. And so it just doesn't seem worth it to take 4 days and only get to go to Oktoberfest for a couple of days and do all the flights when I could just go enjoy a month
Yeah.
or something for the same price.
Would you ever like try to plan for it? Just like
I would love to.
like
One of
bucket list
the-
item?
Yeah, one of the teachers I work with goes every year, but he's older and has a ton of sick days and vacation days, and it's just a lot of effort. I've heard it's a big mess, and I've been told the better festival is in the spring in Munich, Frühlingsfest,
Mm-hmm.
the spring festival that isn't overrun with Australian and British tourists. So it's always good as a tourist to get away from the tourists, you know.
I've heard comedians talk about when they're traveling, they're like, you will find an Australian in the middle of nowhere.
I don't know who's left back in Australia.
Because he was
Watching the
like, I
place.
think he was somewhere in Russia or something, and he was like, just turned a corner, and it was some bigger comedian, and he turned around and was like, "Hey, mate, you're so-and-so." And he was like, some damn Australian. He was like, here I was in the middle of nowhere, and I ran into Australians.
It truly is amazing. Many of the friends I've made traveling are Australian.
Huh.
They just save up money and get out of there.
I wonder if they're like Europeans where they have such a long vacation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Most of the people I've met are taking like 6-month vacations. And so
Jeez.
I don't know if it's as much I'm on vacation from work or I have left this job that I hated. Met a guy from working like the gold mines on the West Coast or in the middle of nowhere, and he worked for a year or two, saved up just a ton of money, and was traveling basically in perpetuity, you know, until
Yeah.
the money ran out. Then he'd go back to Australia and find another job.
When I was about to graduate college, there was a buddy of mine, Big John, who's 10, 15 years older than me. And I was talking about, it's like, man, I would really love to travel from like New York to LA and then up the West Coast and then back for like 2 months. And he was like, you need to do it now or you'll never do it. And for a bunch of years, I was like, man, he's right. I'll never do it. And now that I work for myself, I was like, I'll eventually do it.
Oh, you could do it. It's the beauty of, to circle back to technology, that's the beauty now,
Yeah.
is that working remote and not just like, oh, I'm a server, you know, I'm volunteering at the hostel. You're making your wage.
Yeah.
Met a girl, she lives here, was in Prague, and works for a company that does interview scheduling for Facebook and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She can work anywhere in the world as long as she gets her work done.
There's a friend of mine that his former boss was from America, could work anywhere she wanted to, and finally, after a few years, was like, why am I still living where I grew up? And moved to Italy.
Right.
And works from Italy.
And if
America.
Italy's not working for you, just, yes, you know, Bosnia's nice this time of year.
Maybe.
Would you ever take teaching abroad?
I looked into it when I first started applying for jobs. I was like, you know, Department of Defense, maybe go to Germany, teach on a military base, that'd be cool. It's hard to get into that route. It's easier to get into English as a foreign language. And unfortunately, you know, the tale of woe, like every other young college graduate, student loans, kind of the fear of not having the guaranteed money and the American income somewhat keeps you looking for a higher paying job versus the flexibility that would come with a TEFL kind of certification.
I'm going to make you sick. My first semester in college, because I am older than you guys, was for 21, 24 hours worth of classes, was around 200 to 280 or 325. And that was it. It almost cost more for my books than it did for my first semester.
And it just went up exponentially.
And what was funny is I went to school for 3 years, and the last semester my tuition was like 5 something or low 6, and I was like, son of a bitch, why is this so expensive? And now I look back and I'm like, that was absolutely nothing. I was very fortunate to do it when I did.
Mine was a deal at $1,800 a semester.
Holy shit.
I left at $3,100 a semester.
That's insane.
They're charging these kids like $13,000 now a year. In state.
That's insane. For a degree they're going to get that they're not going to be able to get a job because there's 800 other people going for that exact same job. It's a $30,000 a year job that I can't get on my soapbox on that. Yeah.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
We'll solve the education crisis.
We've talked about alcohol, the important stuff. What about food? Like, do you look for like street food, or do you want to stay a little more safe?
I am admittedly not a foodie. I enjoy food.
Get out. Podcast canceled.
I enjoy food. I like food. I just don't crave food. I don't think like, man, that tiramisu I had was just, I just think back to that. You know, I've had really good food around Europe. I have had beautiful carbonara in Rome. I've had the best svíčková in Prague. Ate puffin in Iceland. Those little cute birds.
Yeah.
Did not eat the whale because it's stupid. It's like, why would you?
Isn't it all blubber?
It's like this ammonia tasting, or is it the shark, the fermented shark, or the fermented?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not doing that. But the puffins, delicious. They're as tasty as they are cute.
That's the pull quote for this podcast.
I've had horse in
Really?
Slovenia. Horse burger. They mince it because apparently horse is tough.
Yeah.
There are parts of Germany that sometimes still eat horse. It's it's just like a roasted horse, but you don't see that often anymore. I don't know if I'd recommend the horse, but I mean, if you're there, you get the horse.
I'm going to say nay to that.
Yeah. I will say I recently had wild boar, which was amazing. But it was kind of tough, and it was kind of pot roasty, but it was delicious.
Yeah, I did some reindeer jerky in Norway. The sample, because it's so expensive, I couldn't bring myself to buy
okay.
it. They just kind of had it out front. But I do look out for the local food. What is what is your thing? So if I'm in Bavaria, I am crushing like Schweinebraten and Schweinshaxe, or Schweinhaxe, and pretty much anything Bavarian is good. It's meat, it's potatoes.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. Spätzle, delicious. But street food is my first love. I love kebabs.
Okay.
I have eaten more kebabs abroad than any other food, and they're the best. And we should have them here, but we don't. We have some places, Turkish market, but it's not the street kebab. It's
Okay. I do think it's funny because I remember there was a point in time where Benton's bacon was more popular in Paris, France than it was in East Tennessee.
oh, it's crazy. You'll see it on a burger in New York or something. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, this is with Benton's bacon.
When I was in Chicago, they had a chalkboard, a giant chalkboard, and they had it bigger than any other type. Benton's Bacon, Tennessee. And I looked at the kid and I was like, I'm from there. And he was like, you're from, I was like, Benton's Bacon is less than an hour from my house. Or Benton's Country Hams. He was like, what the fuck? I was like, it's amazing. I don't know what to tell you, man.
I think a guy in New York once told me, it's like, oh, Benton's bacon. I know that. He goes, yeah, they make it especially for us. I was like, yeah, and that you give them money and then they send some to you.
Yeah.
In that case, yes.
Yeah.
But that's just good bacon. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
I've heard Germany. I've heard a lot of the Eastern countries. France?
I have only been
Or
through
Italy?
France on the Eurostar from Brussels to London.
Okay.
I have very little interest in France. I don't know why. I've not been drawn to Paris. I'm sure, like, I had coffee and saw the Eiffel Tower. I'm sure it's great. But,
I've also heard that they're a little bit more shitty about not knowing French if you're in France.
Yeah, it's weird. I've heard that, like, they want you to at least try, and then when it's bad, they don't like that it's bad. I don't know. That's probably generalizing. I'm sure the French people are
Yeah.
very nice. Italy is cool. Rome, I would never go to in the summer again. It is a hellscape in the summer. It's like 100,000 degrees, no clouds. It's just you and the sun. But maybe in the fall.
Have you been to the Vatican when you went to Rome?
We went to the Vatican, yes. That was pretty cool, except for it was too late to go to the Sistine Chapel. It's crazy. You have to go through gates, and then you go through metal detectors and get patted down, and you have to be wearing pants. And if you're a woman, you have to wear a shawl, and then you finally get to go in. But if you want to go see the Sistine Chapel, that's going to cost you. It was just like a lot of work for...
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. You see the Santa Claus mummy, Pope mummy. Got distracted by that and missed the La Pieta. So probably didn't see everything I should have.
Yeah.
Italy, the best thing in Italy is the Dolomites in the north, the mountains.
Okay.
It's the most obscenely beautiful mountains you've ever seen, and everybody should go there.
And you don't travel with a camera. You just travel with your phone? Or do you travel with a camera?
I've got a little pocket camera, a little Canon G7.
Okay.
Does decent shots. Sometimes you want more, but if I need anything fixed, like a time lapse, or it'll get the job done.
And it's just a point and shoot?
Yeah, just a little point and shoot, $500-600. So as far as
Okay.
point and shoot goes, pretty good, but nothing special.
Okay.
Anymore, the cell phone does a decent job. It also shoots RAW, so you can go back and edit.
Yeah.
What's been like? Have you ever like? How do you like plan a trip? Do you like have you just like Have you ever like just winged it sometimes? Just like being spontaneous.
I'm generally a planner. Over the course of the year, daydreaming. You get a crappy day at work, and you just start thinking, it'd be cool to go to Ukraine. So I will generally plan things out, but I will leave weeks open. So this year I planned to go to Norway and see the fjords and all that good stuff, and kind of 2 or 3 weeks beforehand I just really didn't want to spend the money and went back to Prague because I love Prague, and I think it was a good decision. There are people who constantly wing it, but the prices are higher. You're not going to get the best accommodations. You're not going to get the nicest hostels, the best located, friendliest staffs, the most fun. And it's just a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
I want as easy travel as possible, given that I'm backpacking and staying in hostels and all that.
How big is your backpack? Like, you talked about, like, just doing carry-on.
40 liters. So I had one that was 45 liters that was seeing a little bit of age. So I bought a Osprey Farpoint. It's about 40 liters, does decent for hiking. And I'll also carry a little crushable 20-liter bag to keep the camera, the jacket, and stuff in on the airplane when I've got it stowed away. It just makes life easier. You don't want a rolly bag. You want your hands free, and backpacking allows that.
You're going in the summertime. What is generally the weather like? Because my uncle worked in Germany for a bunch of years, and he was like, the biggest problem I had is no air conditioning. It's like they do not believe in air conditioning, and it sucked.
Yeah, I got spoiled my first trip. It was like maybe 65, 70 degrees every day. I wore pants, jacket at night. But the last 2 years have been heat waves. We had 95, 96 degrees in Budapest this summer.
Shit.
And you really need to look and find hostels with air conditioning. Even if it's 80 degrees, it's worth it. Even though Germans will claim that air conditioning makes you sick. They're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you could just talk to a doctor. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You don't get sick from the air conditioning. But they think, and you'll have them in the, oh, the air conditioning. It's like, it's not, but yeah, they don't, I think they just don't want to pay for it. So they say it's not healthy.
But you kind of have to, before you leave here, you have to prepare for anything. You have to have, like, rain gear,
Yes, because
long
I do
pants.
varied latitudes. I do a lot of hiking. I try to do one long hiking trip each trip now. So you do need, I've had it as hot as 95, 96, 98 degrees, and I've been as cold as 30.
Wow. Okay.
On top of a mountain in Italy. So you have to have it all, which means there's really not room for a laptop. There's not room for a big camera or souvenirs.
And speaking of like preparation, like you do the overseas like health insurance, like that's something I would never even thought of to do.
I don't know where I first heard of it, but it is the most important thing to get. It is maybe $100, $125 for the summer, and it's honestly better health insurance than we have here, which is crazy. Like, for half the price, I get better coverage.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, but knock on wood again, I have not had to use it, but I cannot imagine not having it. European health insurance is free for them.
Yeah.
Because they're paying for it in Texas. I don't know what it would cost to get taken down from a mountain, but just pay the $100.
Yeah. Yeah, God forbid you, like, break your arm or something.
And it happens. I've seen several people who have been hurt. Stitches, casts, things like that.
Yeah.
Have there been like places you were wanting to go to that you just was just very disappointing? You're like, oh, it's not what I expected.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't like live up to what you thought it would be, or you realize like, oh, it's kind of just a city. You see enough churches and enough castles after a while, you start to get a little bit like, it's an alright castle. As far as real disappointment, I don't know, it's not super disappointed because I guess I had an idea, but some things just aren't as impressive. The cathedral in Cologne is very pretty, but then it's surrounded by kebab shops and a train station.
But they were good kebabs though.
It was pretty good kebab. And I don't know, you go to Rome and you look at the Colosseum and it's just tourists everywhere, queued up in line for 2 hours, and it kind of takes away from the idea, or you're getting hit up every 5 feet for change or for this or that or this scam, and that's the toughest part. Is it's not going to look like the picture. It's not going to look like maybe what you saw on the travel show where they got in early.
Have there been any like underrated places though? Like,
Yes.
whoa, did not expect that.
Yeah, I had no expectations for Prague, and it's now one of my favorite places. I think I've been there 6 times. I really was underwhelmed by Vienna. It's a very beautiful city, but it is a city for people with money. Oslo, very underwhelming for me. It's a place for people with money. But then you go to like Bratislava, where most people wouldn't give 2 hours of their day as a day trip from Vienna, and it's a beautiful town. It is Austrian architecture, beautiful, friendly people. The food is awesome. The prices are good. It just like checks all the boxes, except for it's not Vienna.
Yeah.
So those cities, Sarajevo, wonderful place. I'd go there 5 more times, but most people wouldn't put it on the list.
How are the sausages in Vienna?
Wow.
I had to.
They're as good as the jelly in Kentucky.
Yeah, this is the guy who came up with the... I'm not even going to say that idea because I still think it's a good idea that we need to explore later on down the line.
No, I did actually have sausage in Vienna because everything's so expensive. You've got like a $18, €18 schnitzel, or eat this sausage from... They have these stands in the main square where you can get a sausage on a roll with a beer, €6-7, and just listen to the street performers.
You mentioned, like, going to places again and again. Are there specific places when you travel that you want to go back to explore more, or are there places you say, I don't really want to go there again because I've already been there before?
Usually, if I go back to a place, it's either like Prague, which is just amazing. The people that run the hostels I stay at either Roadhouse or Madhouse there. Like, give them a plug, because if you're in Prague, you have to stay at one of those. Or it's like I went to Budapest and stayed for 2 days. And you really can't see a city that big in 2 days.
Right.
Maybe you go to a place and it rains the whole time. I went to Garmisch-Partenkirchen and was going to go up. I was going to go up these mountains, and I go up this mountain. I get to the cable car. You buy the ticket. You have to go that day. And the guy on the cable car says, "Are you sure you want to go up?" And I was like, "Have to." And I got up to the top, and it was just me and a cow and the clouds, and you could see nothing. Same thing happened to me in Berchtesgaden, so I have to go back there sometime, go all the way up to the Eagle's Nest, and just see clouds. So sometimes weather, sometimes time. Other places, you go, you're like, okay, that was good.
Do you have like a map or something at home and kind of check places off, like, I need to remember for next time to not miss, to make sure to make time to go here?
I'll throw stars on my Google map, and I'll keep a kind of my preliminary planning is just a Google Doc of things I might want to see someday.
Okay.
And I add to it, take away from it, and that starts to inform kind of the route that I want to take.
Okay.
But I'll say some places you go to a city and, man, you're good with it. Brussels, went once, didn't like it. Friend said, no, you'll like Brussels. You have to go again. Went again.
Really?
It's a working city. It's got good beer, but it's a little pricey, and I think you could do better.
This is because I don't know how you were raised, but you're from Lenore City. So do you ever hit a place and you're like, I can't believe I'm here? Because I've only been outside the country one time, and it was to Canada for 1 damn hour. But there was one time I was sitting in New York with a girl I grew up with, and there hit a point to where I looked at her at the end of the night at like 2 a.m. I was like, did you ever imagine that we would end up here? Because we both went to Fulton. We were one of the very few to make it out alive or not in jail. And she was like, no, I never expected us to be right here, right now.
That honestly occurs to me daily.
Okay.
It is so ridiculous to me that I do this. And it's nothing super special, right? I mean, people spend more money doing things than I'm spending on these trips. But it's like my mom and dad work in warehouses, factories, my grandparents, factories, farmers. My great-grandfather could not even read or write. And I'm standing on some mountain in Europe, drinking a beer, eating a pretzel.
Yeah.
It truly is insane, and really thankful for the opportunity. It takes work to save the money, but it's so ridiculous that a dude from Lenore City is in Ukraine or like Bosnia.
Yeah. So when you said Sarajevo, I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
That's it. I will say that's a city that probably, like, again, isn't on the list for a lot of people, but it is awesome. The people are second to none in their hospitality, and the city still bears all the marks. It's got scars. It's weird. It's one of the only places really that you can visit, I think, that saw a war in our lifetime.
Are you sticking mainly to Europe? You're not going like Northern Africa or Russia?
No, very little interest in Africa, especially given kind of the unrest and beyond that, a lot of scams, and it's just not the best, I think.
Okay.
It's hard travel. Travel gets a little bit harder. You have to watch your stuff a little more. It's a little less easy to get around. Russia, just haven't found enough in Russia that I want to do the visa. It's about $300, so I don't want to pay $300.
Or what about Asia? Have you ever thought about trying to apply this model to like hitting Vietnam? I've heard Vietnam is one of the best places in the world to go.
Considered it. I'm a little hesitant due to that I have to travel in the summer.
And the language barrier too.
Language, and it's the rainy season.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be hot. Like, it's going to be hot. And I just haven't... I feel like there's enough left to keep seeing as of now.
Okay.
I keep finding more things. It's like an onion.
Yeah.
Or you hear from other travelers like, oh, but have you been to Riga? No, it's in Riga. So you start Googling Riga, and before you know it, well, now I need to go to Lithuania and Estonia, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any places you would like want to move to?
I could live in Prague without a doubt. Even despite knowing no Czech other than jedno pivo, one beer, Dober den, But I love that city. It would be cool. I could live in Bavaria because it's kind of like Tennessee. Farmers, good food, slow pace.
Lots of mountains.
Lots of mountains. They're right there in the backyard. But there hasn't been enough of a pull factor or a push from Knoxville to want to do so far. Who knows? I don't know.
How long do you normally go?
This last year was my longest trip. I think I was gone 56 days.
Holy shit.
The year before was in the 40s. So each year it just keeps creeping up. Although I've about hit the peak. Around the 50th day or so, that last week, I was pretty beat. I was ready to get home or at least slow down.
Yeah.
And I flew to New York on a Saturday, Knoxville on a Sunday, and had to go to work Monday.
Oh.
So I think the working thing was already creeping in.
Yeah.
I would not recommend that. But
I think the longest I've ever been outside of Knoxville on a trip was about 12 days. And by about day 9, I started getting itchy. I was like, it's kind of, it's weird. The comfort of home, the seeing friends, all that shit just kind of, and maybe it would be different if I was over there, but.
It's the hardest part is not seeing your friends.
Yeah.
You get used to your routines and the things you do, trivia or whatever, and that is the most difficult, friends and family. The internet helps with that. I can still keep in touch. I use a I get a SIM card when I go over, get a Google Voice number, so I'm still on the texts and everything.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've made new friends. And now there's a draw to go see my friends in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Kirsten in Germany, we go hiking together now. We met in Germany, I guess, 5 years ago. The next summer visited in Hamburg, and then visited again the next summer, and then we've gone hiking to the Dolomites, and this year we hiked the German and Austrian Alps. So you do end up meeting new people, new friends. And
You've mentioned your friends from the hostels. Is it kind of expected that when you stay in a hostel you're going to be buddies with people, or do you just kind of feel them out? Or like your friend Kristen, is she from Germany and that's where you met her?
Yeah, she's from Hamburg and was down in Germany hiking and just happened to be in the same room. And you're going to see this folk festival? Yeah, let's go down there. And then you exchange Facebooks and WhatsApp numbers, and a lot of people, hi, great to meet you, really enjoyed the experience. You'll spend more time with a person in 3 days than if you try to make a friend with somebody here. It would take you a month, 2 months to have that much face-to-face. So it's a crucible. You really become friends fast, but then a lot of them you just let go.
Yeah.
I'll add you on Instagram, chat with you a little bit, and then it fades. But every so often, there are a few people who I count as true friends now that I keep up with just as much as we do.
Okay.
What's like the worst, what's the best and the worst piece of travel advice you've received?
The best travel advice, I think, is to get a SIM card.
Yeah, you keep saying that and I'm like, shit, I have an iPhone. You can't get a SIM card with an iPhone.
I think they have a SIM now.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
I think the new ones do.
I have a 6S. Mine.
Oh, does it?
Has
I have
it, yeah.
a 6S Plus.
Yeah, you have to.
Their plans are so
I
much
didn't
cheaper
realize
than
that.
ours.
Yeah, it's through the side.
It's
Get a paper
you
clip
just-
and boing.
Now, okay.
So in the EU, they have an agreement that if you get a SIM card in one country, the data is free roaming anywhere.
Okay.
So I bought a SIM card 3 years ago in Scotland. That it's not. They're not going to be in the EU anymore, which might be. I might have to get a new SIM card next year. But if they ever leave.
Or if you don't spend much time there, just pay for that while you're there.
Exactly.
And then, no, it's going to be free for 90% of your travel.
So you just get there, grab the card. They'll register everything for you in the store. In Ukraine, the kiosk is at the airport. You just walk out, get ATM, get some money out of the ATM, walk to these people at the kiosk, give them like $5. They put a SIM card in your phone, no registration, 10 gigs of data, good for a month.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. It's just worth the extra money. It's $20, $30 more a month tops.
Okay.
And life is easy. I have 10 gigs of data.
Yeah.
I'm Instagramming all damn day, you know.
Yeah.
That's the best advice. Like, be connected. Probably the worst advice. Some of the worst advice is taking, I think, like recommendations. Because you never know what the other person was doing when they had this great experience. That meal they recommend might be great because they were there with friends, or they were having such a great day that it just capped it off. Or you have to go here, you have to see this, and then you wait in line all day, and you get there, and you finally get in, and you look at the Rosetta Stone, and you just go, So I think don't do something because somebody else says you have to do it. They may build it up a little bit more than it.
Yeah, and I think like a difference between you and I would probably want to go see a lot more art, because I'm not to sound like an asshole, but like I'm an artist.
I get it. I'm not cultured. Just me with my street.
You're from Lenore
my
City,
street
dude.
food.
Can I have that beer?
I'm from the ultra cultured Fulton High School. I mean, come on.
It is.
No, but I think about like Because I've seen photos, you were talking about something earlier, and I was like, I've seen up high photos of the Louvre, and, you know, Mona Lisa's there, and there's 600 people standing in front of the Mona Lisa trying to Instagram it.
Yeah.
And you see all these other paintings that nobody's in front of.
And it runs it, because, I mean, Mona Lisa sucks if you're 30 feet away and 800 cameras in front of you.
I had that, I think it was in, where was I at? I think it was in Chicago. I went to a museum, and Starry Night was there. And same thing, I couldn't get within 30 feet of it because everybody had to go up and take a photo with their damn phone. I was like, you can Google a better image of Starry Night than your blurry ass, underlit bullshit ass phone photo.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And no one would know if you posted.
And nobody gave a shit. Nobody would give a shit.
I've realized that with kind of travel in general and photos and stuff is most people don't care to hear your whole travel story. And I get it, you know. What are the highlights?
Yeah.
You know, I'll post like my beautiful mountain pictures. That's what gets traction
Yeah.
because those are awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody loves mountains. But I'll, you know, go hike through World War I trenches in the Dolomites and I'm freaking out as a history teacher. I'm in Belgium hiking the Western Front. I see where the first gas attack happened and I take a picture of a field with like a dairy farm or some crap in it. I'm like, this is the site of the first German gas attack. Cool.
Yeah. That's where you lost me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go see art, and you're going to be like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, look at this. You know, I'll go to a military museum or something, spend all day
Yeah.
looking at the 3 different types of Challenger tank.
Shit.
And everybody else is going like, oh, yeah, it was tank.
I just thought, have you
Boom.
been to any of the sites of the Holocaust?
Yes,
Like Auschwitz?
I've been to
are
Auschwitz.
any of them, like, are they museums now?
It is basically all a museum.
Okay.
So I would recommend a guided tour because you're going to get the most out of it. I avoided it, to be honest.
I don't know that.
I've been to Munich several times and have avoided Dachau because I simply didn't want to see it. Because I'm on vacation. Vacations are fun.
Yeah.
But Auschwitz, it is tough. It's heavy. I've seen some sites in Prague. You see former ghettos in Riga. And then there are these little stumbling stones, these little brass squares all around Europe. And they have the name of somebody and a date and what happened to them. And basically it'll say like so-and-so lived here and they were deported on, June 21st, 1941, Auschwitz, and murdered. And they're all over Europe, Rome, Prague, except for like Munich doesn't have them because they won't allow them, which I think is stupid.
Yeah.
Because like, hey guys, southern capital of the Nazi state,
There's a place in Whitwell, Tennessee, which is like 45 minutes outside Chattanooga, west of Chattanooga. And they made a documentary on it. There's a middle school where one of the teachers decided he wanted to teach the kids what the Holocaust was. So he made them collect a paperclip for everyone who died.
Yeah.
The documentary is called Paper Clips. It's amazing. But on my 40 before 40, it was to go visit that because they actually have a train car that has the paper clips. They've melted down some of the paper clips and made art out of them, butterflies. But I went to it. It's on the campus of a middle school. School was in session. It was kind of weird being there when a bunch of kids were running around. But I went to it. I kind of looked around. I listened to the audio. There's not much to it. Like I was there 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I walked away. And I got in my car, and I was driving to Chattanooga to meet up with a buddy. And I got to, like, the red light away from it and just started kind of, like, breaking down. Because it took a minute to hit me, like, what the fuck I was standing inside. I was standing in a fucking train car where they just piled bodies. Like,
Yeah,
it really...
And it's
Yeah.
tough. You're doing your tourist stuff, and so you go to Auschwitz, and it's beautiful, first of all. It is gorgeous, and it kind of takes you out of what you're seeing. And then you walk into a room with, like, shoes.
Yeah.
And so it's starting away, and we're walking around, and the lady says, okay, now we're going to go into the crematorium. And I was like, there's no way in hell I heard that right. And so then you're in there, didn't even take a picture in there. I just like couldn't bring myself to. I was like looking.
No.
And like dumbstruck. And then you go to the camp where they exterminated people.
Yeah.
That's the one with the famous train car in the gate and all that.
Yeah.
That's the one you think of when you think Auschwitz, but that was like Auschwitz II.
Okay.
But I think the things that hit me are those little stumbling stones, or like just hearing the story of someone who lived in a house and was taken, or seeing the old ghetto walls.
Yeah.
It's kind of your mind starts thinking of all the stuff you know about it already.
Yeah.
And so sad, depends on what you're looking for when you travel, but I think that stuff's important.
Yeah. Oh.
Taking a somber turn.
No,
but
On the sketchy places, I thought that was going to be a good conversation. I think there are a lot of good
yeah,
stuff
I mean,
there.
like you have to watch out. Like all these places have sketchy places. Like Glasgow is a blue collar town.
Yeah.
And it's it's rough and tumble. Like you will see some shit in Glasgow. They get on the Buckfast. It's like this caffeinated tonic wine. And man, they get on the Buckfast and they are just nutty. Ukraine, you kind of are told like don't go to these areas because you're just gonna get robbed. So there's like I would not go to like Walter P. Taylor Homes this evening.
Yeah.
And see the sights, so I wouldn't go to those parts of Glasgow or Kiev or anything. And yeah, it's crazy, man. I've had like no real problems. It's just kind of nuts. Like you would expect to have stuff.
No sketchy Motel 6s.
No, it's crazy that we're in Prague, I guess. And there's this Brazilian dude. He's like 6'6", jacked, and we're walking home from these bars like 3 or 4 in the morning, and he's just like, "I love this place. This is the greatest." And I was like, "Yeah, Prague's cool." He goes, "No, we're not gonna get robbed tonight." I'm like, "What do you mean we're not gonna get robbed?" He's like, "In Brazil, you go out. Where I'm from, you get robbed, so you just don't carry your wallet. You carry a little bit of money because they're just gonna rob you all the time." He's like, "Nobody's gonna pull a gun on us." And I was like,
Have you seen?
Jesus, we've got it good.
Have you ever
Like,
seen the movie L.A. Story with Steve Martin?
No, I don't think so.
There's a scene where he's waiting in line to go to the ATM, and you notice there's one line going to the ATM and one line coming the other way, and he gets up and gets his money, and he turns around, and the guy is standing there, he's holding a gun, and he's like, "Hi, my name is Philip. I'll be your robber this evening." And he's like, "Hello, Philip," and he gives him his money, and he walks away.
That's apparently Brazil.
Yeah.
From what the Brazilian told me. So,
Yeah.
well, rethink Rio.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, like, during the Olympics were there, right?
Oh my gosh, I can't
That was a long
imagine
time.
why they would ever put them there.
When was that?
That was that 2 Olympics ago?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine, like, spending all this money to go down there and
Okay.
get robbed.
I'm gonna steal a joke from Robin Williams. Did you ever hear his joke on that? He was like,
Oh, no. Sorry.
Yeah,
You can't hear the head
great
nod.
podcast. He said, we were Chicago was competing against Brazil. He was like, we sent Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey. They sent 200 strippers, and he was like, Oprah, shaved pussy. It's like, we're gonna go with the shaved pussy. I was like, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. Here's a weird thing I've thought about. I think I touched on the podcast with Katie. Whenever I travel anywhere in the States, I feel like I need to be a good representation or a good ambassador for the South. So when you're over there, do you feel like an ambassador for the States, or like, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you, or me personally, I don't want to necessarily be, but I also don't want to be a bad representation.
I think it's because I've heard many people say when they're somewhere not in the States, they're always like apologetic for being American. And I was like, I don't feel like I need to be apologetic. I feel like I just need to be a good representation.
And I think that's bullshit. It's like you see guys online, look, I sew a Canadian flag to my backpack so people won't think I'm American. It's like, or you can explain that you are one individual among 330-something million people, and you may just have a differing view than the thing they saw on the news.
Yeah.
But there used to be this idea, I think, of the loud Americans.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, just a result of we had money, we traveled, but like back then, like traveling meant you really had money.
Yeah.
It was not a cheap thing. The cheap flight to go across the Atlantic was $1,200-$1,300.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
The early 2000s. So you see more of that like loud, overbearing, locust type, I'm going to just rape and pillage more from China.
Really? Okay.
Because they're the new group that has money and has not traveled.
Okay.
We used to do it, but now they're doing it.
Okay.
And you have a lot of people in China, I think, who 20 years ago were legitimately rice farmers, and now there's money, and you're going to see the world, and I mean, it's just, we've shifted, so
okay.
I guess they have the negative connotation now. We used to have it, but it still lingers, and I think people are embarrassed by that, maybe, that, I've seen a guy with a shirt that said, like, I didn't vote for Trump, I'm so sorry for him. It's
yeah.
Like,
so do you ever feel like you have to, has there been situations where you have to like defend like yourself?
A little, because people always want to talk about it. Oh, well, how'd you elect that guy? How'd you do that? What do you think about guns? I don't see how you could own guns. I don't see how you could vote for Trump. I don't see... And I'm like, hey, man.
I'm just one guy.
I'm one guy who is on vacation. We're a representative republic, constitutional republic, whatever you want to call it. And, it's politics. But everybody wants to talk, and it makes you realize the influence we have on the world.
Well,
they all still, when the president tweets or when the Congress acts, it affects Europe.
Yeah.
It is, and you don't realize that until you get over there, and they are as versed on American politics as we are.
Well, I think it also shows a difference in education. Because you think about, like, they're versed in ours, but can you name who the prime minister is in X country?
Yeah, and part of that, I think part of that's education, and part of it is doesn't
influence.
matter.
Yeah.
I was learning German as a hobby, and my friend Kirsten, she says, why are you learning German? You don't need it. You should learn Spanish, which I thought was very German, like it's utilitarian.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just want to. I wanted a hobby that was free. And for them, learning English is practical.
Yeah.
You don't learn it because you want to. But I think we have that influence, and so everybody wants to talk about it, and I don't want to talk about the president.
No.
Doesn't matter who the president is. I'm on vacation, man.
Yeah.
Like, so I get some of that. Like, I don't want to be the guy that looks like the loud American, but I'm also not going to apologize for, I'm not going on an apology tour.
No. There's been some concern over the years with like globalization and everything that some younger people were not embracing their heritage or their culture. So you were having like Iranian kids wanting McDonald's. Do you see some of the edges of a location's culture kind of being rubbed off, or is it a little bit more standoffish?
I think a little bit. You can, when you travel...
Starbucks. The Starbucksification.
You can always count on ducking into a McDonald's or a Burger King for Wi-Fi, air conditioning, and a place to charge your phone.
Okay.
In Prague, we had McDonald's with shrimp on top of it. I don't think that's necessarily Czech, considering their geographical relationship to any large body of water.
We need to do air quotes around shrimp.
Yeah, so I don't know what the hell it was. It was literally, it was just a McDonald's
Mixed
burger,
shrimp, yeah.
but the bun was black, and they just put 2 filleted unseasoned shrimp on top of it.
What
It was atrocious, but we
Was
saw
it-
the
was it-
signs.
Were the
so many-
shrimps in like an M?
probably.
Oh
They
my
were
God! If it's
awful.
not marketing
this
opportunity,
rubbery little shrimp
Little
filleted
shrimps
out,
making it
out.
like butterflied out.
if you really want to be an annoying American, you would take the top bun off and put ketchup on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, there is the globalization, and the problem is, and I hate to admit it, sometimes it's better. I have grown accustomed. I think you said earlier today you drink like a pot of coffee. I drink like half a pot of coffee a day. Like, we drink lots of coffee. And there's nothing more frustrating than going into a nice cafe, getting a coffee, and it's the tiniest little thing you've ever seen. And you're like, oh, can I get Americano? They're like, yeah, here's your espresso with some water.
Yeah.
But you can go to a Starbucks and get the biggest damn coffee you've ever seen
Yeah.
in your life and the biggest mug you've ever seen. So there are benefits to it, but it does start to dilute what you saw on TV growing up.
Yeah.
For good or bad, I mean, immigration.
Yeah.
You go to these towns in Bavaria, and it's not the Bavaria you remember because it's now multicultural, which isn't a bad thing.
It's more of a melting pot.
It's a melting pot, so just be prepared that it's not going to look like everybody in their dirndl and lederhosen all the time. It's going to be guys from Syria, Somalia, wherever, who are sometimes integrating well and sometimes finding it to be difficult.
Okay.
Which isn't bad, but just, it's not all Disney World. It's
Yeah.
or Epcot. I guess that has the around the world.
This is going way back and talking. Did you travel a lot? You were talking about your parents working in warehouses. Did you all travel much at all when you were a kid?
Oh, none.
I always joke that we went to Myrtle Beach and Gatlinburg, and that was it.
We went to Myrtle Beach every year growing up. That was the big vacation. And I remember twice in my life went to Disney. But until I flew to Ireland in 2006, towards the end of college, the furthest I'd been from home was Washington, D.C.
Safety patrol?
8th grade trip.
Oh, okay.
So we just didn't travel. It wasn't a thing you did. You went camping on the weekends because we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And so international travel was for the rich. It wasn't for us.
I still struggle with it. It
doesn't make sense, but 56 days, I spent no more than $5,000.
I was going to ask if you felt comfortable saying how much overall it cost.
I budget $100 a day, and
Now, does that count airfare and hostels and all that?
It is everything, not including the return flight to and from Europe.
Okay.
But I think at $100 a day, you can't go crazy. You can't do all Scandinavia. You can't do all England or something. But if you vary expensive countries and inexpensive countries, I shoot for an average of $35 a night for hostels. Some are $50, some are $14. And at $100 a day, I've been able to travel without even thinking about budget.
Okay.
So how do you know, which are the expensive and inexpensive countries?
Just looking around hostel prices, there is a website that basically compares the price of a beer in various countries. And you can generally, based on the price of a beer, determine what this place is going to cost you. So you might be $9 a beer and $20 a hamburger in Iceland. Or you might be buying a horse burger for $4 or $5 in Slovenia.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the Czech Republic is very not cheap, but it doesn't cost a lot.
Yeah, it's not the super cheap thing it used to be.
Okay.
But still, so I pay more for my hostel there because it has air conditioning. The staff takes you out every night for something. So I'm paying for programming and luxury. But
Okay.
$2 a beer should be the norm. If you're at a super fancy like craft beer bar, maybe 3 to 4
This
for
is
their
cracking me
craziest
up,
double
'cause
IPA.
Hell, you can't get a $2 beer in this city.
That it screws up it screws up your value system when the most expensive beer in the place is $4. And you're like, I don't know, man, it's an expensive beer. I don't know if I want to pay it. And then it's literally the cheapest thing at the bar here.
Yeah.
It just, the brain kind of disconnects. But in general, if you want cheaper, go east and south. If you want more expensive, go north and west.
Okay.
And if you can balance those, I think that's perfect.
Have you been to Iceland?
I have.
Okay.
Iceland's great. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Most beautiful place I've ever seen. But it's like New York plus 20%.
Shit. Okay.
But if you're used to traveling to New York, or if you've been to LA or Denver or something,
Yeah.
then you're thinking
Fucking
like...
San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. So compared to San Francisco, you're like, I don't know, Iceland?
You talk about
Not
$9 beers. Last time I was out in San Francisco, they had a Guinness was $9. And I was like, you're out of your fucking mind. I am not spending $9 on damn. Give me whiskey. Give me bourbon. Give me something
That's
else.
half the reason I still travel to Europe.
Yeah.
It is cheaper for me to fly across the Atlantic to spend the summer than it is to go out west here.
Yeah.
I mean, it just truly is cost effective.
On this last little trip I took, I found a town that I want to go back to and spend about 4 days to a week. St. Pete, Florida. It is like murals, craft beer, good food, and I don't think it's that expensive.
I've been through there, but only for, was it the Outback Bowl
Yeah.
when UT played last.
A
But
friend of mine lives down there, and he's vegan, and he eats everywhere. And I'm like, shit. When we went through, I was like, we went and saw a baseball game, see the Rays play, and I was just like, this is kind of crazy. Like the murals and shit struck me, and all the good food places.
So that is one thing I've really not traveled well in the U.S. It's more expensive.
Yeah.
It's easier to go abroad, which seems crazy. Like when
Yeah.
you say that, like, oh, it's so much cheaper to just fly to Europe.
Yeah.
Like, just the
But-
thought is just overwhelming, like planning an overseas trip.
Oh my gosh, but it's so, depending on where you go, I mean, Germany, like Bavaria is kind of expensive. It's here plus a little bit.
Okay.
But like Ukraine, I mean, in 5 days, 4 days, I might have spent $25 a day.
Wow.
And I ate out every meal. Some places you just cannot spend money.
So some of these hostels, do you end up getting a meal with it?
Many of them offer breakfast.
Okay.
Some, if they don't offer it for free, it's maybe €5. It's
I'm
not gonna be
guessing
the
it's
best
not like
food.
breakfast at a hotel here where they have Fruit Loops and Cheerios.
You'll have some sort of couple of cereals, usually a muesli, which is like a rolled oat with like trail mix, like granola.
Okay.
Usually some meats, cheeses, hard-boiled eggs, toast. Not bad.
Yeah.
I
Do they
mean,
have Benton's bacon?
no Benton's bacon. No Benton's bacon.
Is it unlimited coffee?
Yes, usually.
Good.
It's not always the best coffee,
Don't care.
but a lot of these places use that instant coffee.
Oh,
Not good.
don't care.
But it's still coffee. It's still coffee. It's unlimited. Many of the hostels that don't offer full breakfasts at least have cereals and coffee and tea. And then usually they'll throw eggs in the fridge and you can cook the eggs if you want. Or they'll have pasta. So you can get by if you're really wanting to. But I mean, usually it's easier just to go out and grab something.
So
Just
here's-
budget for it.
Here's a weird question. Water. Like, what do you do for water when you're there? Because I drink...
Nowhere I've been could you not drink the tap water.
Okay, because I drink like 140 ounces of water a day.
Yeah, same. Never had trouble getting water. I'll usually buy a couple of liter bottles of water to start and then refill those as long
Okay.
as I don't lose them. The issue is not drinking the water. The issue is getting rid of the water. You need to make sure to carry pocket change because almost everywhere in Europe costs money to go to the bathroom. varying from 10 to 50 cents to even €1.
That's
So always have change on you to.
thing I've ever heard.
So if you're at a bathroom, go pee. It is anytime you're at a bathroom, just go ahead and go, even if you don't really need to.
Ever at a restaurant, you mean?
Ever at a restaurant, if you're in a museum, if you even pass one that costs money, just go ahead and go, because it's not like here where you can just basically pee anywhere for free. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever.
I was in Brooklyn and I walked 2 miles to go to a donut shop because I'm me and that's a priority. And I then walked the 2 miles back. About half a mile in, I realized I had to pee. I had to pee the mile and a half, and was hitting a point to where I'm gonna have to walk into an alleyway and piss.
Yeah, New York is kind of like that. There's really nowhere to pee.
Finally turned a corner, and I was at like a Old Navy or Bed Bath and Beyond or something, and it was literally one of those where I thought I was gonna have to pee behind it. I had to pee so bad. And I turned the corner, and I walked in, and there's a security guy there, and went, bathroom. He was like, it's in the back. I was like, fuck. And I almost took off running, went back there and peed, and I came back, and I looked at him and said, thank you. And I walked out the door.
I have bought things before. Several times I've bought a ice cream cone or a McChicken or something in the McDonald's so that I could get the code that you have to punch in to get into the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't just go in and pee. You gotta have the code. It's if you've been in New York, it's
Oh, yeah. If I'm driving and I need to stop at a gas station to pee, I always grab something because I almost feel guilty just peeing, which sometimes it's a truck stop.
The difference is you could go without buying anything.
I know.
There, you gotta have the code.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
How many countries have you been to?
I think 23 or 24. Although if Scotland ever leaves the UK, it'll bump one. Yeah, somewhere 23, 24, 25. And I think that's interesting because some of these I've been to one city.
Yeah.
Some of these, like Germany, I've traveled to probably a dozen cities.
Okay.
I've probably spent over a month or almost 2 months in Germany.
Okay.
I've spent probably 5 weeks in the Czech Republic, but it's all been in Prague and Brno and Pilsen. But a lot of people, they want to notch. I want to see 30 countries before 30. Oh, I've done Norway. I've been to Oslo. Is that really doing Norway? Because Oslo's probably the crappiest part. It's a city.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're traveling these, do you try to go to the cities, or do you try to find like smaller countryside villages and stuff?
The easy thing is the cities.
Okay.
It's easy. Plenty of hostels. You got some churches and castles and stuff. But as I keep doing it, I have purposefully built in nature.
Okay.
So the Dolomites, the Italian Alps there, the Swiss Alps, the Tatras in Slovakia, the German and Austrian Alps. Really, like, get out of the cities. After a while, it all is just kind of the same.
I know now what's going to get you into France. Visit in Normandy.
That's on the list. That was actually something. The guys I went to England with the first time, we were looking into that this year. And you just have to have more money than God to even get close to Normandy this last year. It was the big 75th, right?
Oh,
and so it was just impossible. Normandy, that would get me there.
Okay.
Because I've been on the other side, Cliffs of Dover, looking across it, at it. And so the history, I think, would pull me there. Paris, though. Sorry to anybody who...
No. We only have one Parisian listener, and he's an asshole. I'm just kidding.
Paris is the most glorious city in the world. You can eat croissants and drink coffee and look at the Eiffel Tower, which I don't even think croissants were made there. I don't think they're from France.
We didn't realize that Josh was a secret Parisian hater.
Not only have I not been...
From what we learned.
you talk about hiking and stuff. Have you run into weird animals or a lot of animal? Like, or are they so I figure, like, if you're getting in some of the places you're getting, they're probably not used to humans.
I have not ran into anything. It is kind of cool. I hate spiders. It's like my fear, which is stupid because I'm not at all afraid of crashing airplanes or anything. Something's wrong with me. But I've not ran into anything. We saw some little deer called Gamza, but that is about the we saw some marmots.
Okay.
They were not threatening. Which is kind of, you go to these places, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you don't even see a bird sometimes, which is kind of weird.
But it could be that you're human and they can smell you or whatever, and they're avoiding.
Possibly.
Yeah, their area.
I know in Chernobyl when we went.
Oh shit! You went to Chernobyl?
Super cool, by the way. It is really, really, really interesting. I went just this past summer, but they have some foxes that run around, and wolves and things like that are kind of coming back.
Now that you say that, I think I remember that, because didn't you show like you had a meter to check the radiation?
Yeah, you go in, you wear the dosimeter, and then they'll give you a little scanner, kind of Geiger counter type deal that you can check stuff out. And it seems really like, oh man,
you're on the edge.
This radiation, we're on the edge. And if you've seen Chernobyl, we go to the hospital that they threw all the clothes down under.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's amazing.
It's pretty cool. And you get to see all this stuff. But they figure that your dose for that day is less than your dose on a 4-hour flight.
Really?
And so if you stay where you're supposed to stay and do what you're supposed to do, you're completely safe.
Is it like a guided tour?
Yes, it is super guided. And in fact, you're not allowed to go into buildings.
Okay.
And some guides let you, but if it gets out, those guides will get fired and barred from taking tour groups in. You go through security checkpoints, passport control, secondary security checkpoint. Anytime you go in and out of buildings, like to get lunch near the reactor, you go get lunch, you have to go through a dosimetric control to make sure you're not bringing radiation into the cafeteria.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's pretty serious stuff, but ultimately generally safe as long as you don't break the rules.
Did you research the shit out of that before you did it, or?
It was like a childhood thing. Chernobyl was so interesting to me as a kid, and I never really considered it. But a buddy of mine from college, he'd been a couple times. He's like, "Yeah, man, you check it out." Looked into it. Ukraine is so cheap that it basically kind of balances out the cost of flying there, and then the tour is maybe €100,
Okay.
$125 or something tops.
Okay.
And then you went like the same year as the show came out, right? Do you think that was a difference in like tourism there?
They did say that it was amping up because of it, that they were seeing an increase from the show. And we were lucky that we were a little bit ahead of schedule and got in before a lot of the groups. But it is, I think, a benefit to them because Ukraine's poor. It's poor as hell.
Yeah.
And tourism is due to them. They're not really set up for it. They're trying, but it's not, the infrastructure is not really there yet. So I think it can only be a benefit, a show like that, in bringing in people.
Have there been any like other spots you visited because of like things you've seen from like shows, be it like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter?
I was not. So I have never seen an actual Harry Potter movie. I've only seen one that was dubbed over by this comedian, Brad Neely. The guy that did that Washington video, you wouldn't know it from what I've just said, but it's funny. And so I've not seen Harry Potter, but I've been to the train bridge in Scotland that the train to the Hogwarts goes on, and I've been to the King's Cross station with the shopping cart halfway through the wall, and I've been to the graveyard where the person who wrote it, was it Rowling? Is that
J.K. Rowling?
J.K. Rowling. I've been to
Rowling.
the graveyard she got her inspiration from, and the coffee house that she wrote it at, having never actually read.
Was that intentional?
No. Just was at Edinburgh, and a friend of mine that I met in Prague was in Edinburgh, and she was a fan, and we went all around, and I was like, oh yeah, that's sure is somebody from Harry Potter. I've been to several Game of Thrones sites prior to having ever even really seen it. I started watching it in season 4 because my friends watched it. So I don't even know what happened in the first 3 seasons. But I've been to I was in was it Diocletian's Palace, I think, in Split, Croatia. And I was just down under it because they tore down the top of it, but you could still see the floor plan down below. And I was just like walking around like, this sure is a basement. And I heard a tour group come through, and she goes, oh, and of course this is where Daenerys kept her dragons in season whatever. This was the dragon lair.
She kept the dragons in the basement.
And so I just kind of like took my camera out and took a picture. And then would Google us like Game of Thrones Croatia, and I was like, oh, where you're standing is in front of the Iron Bank. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Oh my god.
And so I think in Iceland I've been to where the Hound fought the tall lady.
Brienne.
Brienne. I've been to where they fought. And so, yeah. Incidentally, kind of. I'm very cultured.
So you haven't sought after any.
I did go to
places
Bratislava mainly because I saw it in Eurotrip. It's they freaking hate that movie.
Okay.
They said between that and Hostel.
Oh, they hate that movie.
Oh, people in Bratislava hate that movie. That's the part in Eurotrip where they go and spend like 18 cents and get a 5-star hotel, and it's just like this Soviet shithole in the movie. And she said between Eurotrip and Hostel, which was filmed in Prague and Český Krumlov in the Czech Republic, inexplicably set its locale as Bratislava. And she said tourism dropped there right after the Hostel came out by like 70%.
Wow.
That's crazy.
They freaking hate that movie. They even invited Eli Roth there, like, you need to come see this place because you don't know shit about this. And he declined and they say he probably felt like we'd kill him.
Yeah, I wonder after the Taken film, at the opening where she was there and she got kidnapped.
Was that Bratislava too?
I can't remember where it was at.
God,
I thought it was somewhere in France.
That'd be the trifecta. Maybe France, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of like, have you ever seen Ronin? Like,
love that movie.
Yeah, that's one. But they're in like Nice, and I think that's one. But I don't know if there's anything special in that film that is, stands out.
It wouldn't make you like avoid Nice. Oh, I might have a car chase. Better not visit Nice.
There's an opportunity. Can't that as a tour that you get to go on a car chase in Nice?
What?
No, that would be a great idea.
I was like, that might get me to France.
If laws don't matter, then that might be a good idea.
That would get me there.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
You're out.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm not cultured enough to know what I'm even seeing sometimes.
Do you ever feel out of place?
Yeah.
Or like...
Some people make a big deal out of it, like, how do I dress like a local? It's like, well, you're not going to look the part. Because they wear pants all the time. Even when it's like 1,000,000 degrees, which would kill you, Jody.
Yeah, you talked about going into having to wear pants. It's like, holy shit.
Unless you're a small boy, then in the summer, if it's too hot, they'll let young children into the Vatican without long pants on.
Like, do jeans count? Or?
Yeah, jeans would be fine.
Okay.
I wasn't making like a Catholic church
no.
there, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I saw your look. I was
Yeah.
like, not going there, I swear.
Man, yeah, it would kill me. That's why I asked about the weather and the AC, because I was like, man, I can't imagine going in the summertime.
I bring pants. I like wearing pants if possible, but
Yeah, do you have to
Shorts are
worry
cool.
about that with like restaurants and shit? Like,
Not really. Nobody's given me trouble. The biggest difference in restaurants is here when you travel, you just pony up to the bar.
yeah.
There, a lot of places don't have a bar, or if they do, they don't really mean for you to sit there, even if there's chairs there.
Really?
So what's the point of it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They want you to get a table. I don't want a table. I just want to
Yeah.
sit at the bar and talk to the bartender.
You're a bigger dude. Have there been places where it was noticeable how big you were? Or were there places where everybody else was? Because I know there are some spots where any of the three of us would be average. Like in the Netherlands and stuff.
Oh, yeah, like further north, like
Yeah.
6 foot, no big deal. A lot of places, the issue was just headspace.
Okay.
Just hit my head a lot. Doorways sometimes, in the older houses, guest houses, things like that, hostels. It never has really been a huge issue. Buses have been probably the toughest thing because you've got your bag and you're crammed in. But it's not been anything that you just couldn't deal with.
Okay.
I think it would be more of a concern maybe in Asia.
yeah.
Like, would stick out.
Oh yeah, one of well, there are a few things. There's some of my friends went to Tokyo, and they're like, we went to this restaurant that you wouldn't have physically been able to go into, because they had to go up these narrow stairs, and they're like, we barely fit up there. Like you literally, I was like, I would have got claustrophobia. Like to be able to get out, it was scared the shit out of me. Like I couldn't have done it. And when I worked at PetSafe, we did a lot of work. They did a lot of work in China, and a lot of the engineers were like, "We really want you to go because we want to see how everyone else experiences you being in China." They're like, "You'll be like a superstar in China." Easy.
Yeah, I think there, yes, you would just be a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Europe, nothing really. I think you're gonna look American no matter what. You're gonna look like you're sticking out because you're looking up at everything and looking at your phone and taking pictures and wearing chacos. That's a big tell that you're from the South. Like you see somebody from the South or from like the Pacific Northwest, they're like, "Hey, nice chacos. Where are you from?"
Yeah.
You're from the South, aren't you?
So like
Yeah.
speaking of the South, like as we all know, like we're all friendly down here, like to each other. How is like the mannerisms overseas?
I think not as much small talk. We're more used to the pre-ordering conversation. You know, hi, welcome to Wendy's. How are you? Oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing all right today. You know, not too bad of a day. Just a couple more hours on the shift. Like, oh man, that's great. Yeah, I guess I'll have the number 2.
Yeah.
They're maybe a little more matter of fact.
But I figure some places like Scotland probably would be more talky.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I never had a problem making conversation, but man, do I hate European service. It is friendly, but just slow.
It's no Chick-fil-A.
It's no Chick-fil-A. You finish eating your meal, and then nobody shows back up.
Yeah.
You have no beer. You have no food. You have nothing. You're just sitting. It is not uncommon 15, 30, 45 minutes
Wow.
sitting, waiting for your check, because they expect you to ask for the check, but if they don't come around to give you the chance to ask for the check,
Yeah.
you just sit. Even my German friend would get annoyed with the pace of service. I just want to leave. I just
Yeah.
want to pay you. I want to leave, and that can't happen. And then finally they come. Oh, did you want something? No, I just to pay. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. And here it's like, can I get you guys dessert? No. Well, I have your check right here for you.
I'm trying to get you the hell. I'm trying
45
to
minutes.
turn over that table. Yeah.
You really need to, if you settle in at a restaurant, be prepared for a couple of hours. Or be proactive when the guy drops off the food or comes back that one more time. Just say, can we get the check?
Yeah. Right, here's a weird one. because I'm a cigar smoker, how common is smoking or anti-smoking? Because I know on the packages for cigarettes they put like skulls and shit.
Oh, they'll put pictures of people's like messed up lungs
Yeah.
and people like in a bed with a throat thing.
Yeah.
Smoking is more prevalent.
Okay.
I think in Sarajevo they said 95% of people smoke.
Shit.
Doesn't
Okay.
hurt that cigarettes were like $2 a pack there for Marlboros.
Okay.
During the Bosnian War, the two places still open were the brewery and the cigarette factory, as they were getting murdered by the Serbians and the Russians. And
That's hilarious.
but
Okay.
a lot of smoking. The further east you go, the more smoking. The further I think Parisians, you know, the French, they smoke. As you go maybe north, I think smoking decreases somewhat. But they get into those little pouches.
Yeah.
And then the Austrians, the craziest, they snort this tobacco. We tried that. In Prague. These Austrians, it's called what's it called?
Snuff?
Kind of like, it basically looks like snuff.
Yeah.
But instead of packing it like our uncles would do,
Yeah.
they just take it and you put it on your your palm
Yeah.
and you just
Grandmothers used to do that. Yeah.
I cannot for the life of me think what it's called. But as a non-smoker, you're like damn near high.
Really?
Oh, it's the craziest nicotine buzz.
Okay.
What is that stuff called?
I have no idea.
I'm just thinking of smoking cigars, man. Like, I would love to.
I think you could. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these places. It is a smoking culture. Some are coming around to the banning smoking indoors, things like that.
Yeah.
Which is weird. That was like a decade ago here now.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
What's the biggest culture shock you've seen for you?
The biggest culture shock I've ever had was Dominican Republic. Because it's just chaos. No rules of the road. It was just nuts. And it was like the second time I'd ever been out of the country. In Europe, I haven't experienced anything too crazy. Nothing that would scare me or deter me. Generally, restaurants and everything follows the way we would expect. But I think driving is the biggest shock. Some places like Ukraine did not respect the rules of the road like here. We're used to rules, and stop signs mean stop, and
So what all would they do?
just a little more
Driving-wise?
erratic. Go to the wrong side of the road some. But in the Dominican Republic, I routinely spent time on the wrong side of the road. It was terrifying. I saw people riding on the back of a flatbed 18-wheeler on the interstate. It's just shocking.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about kind of Europe, and you said DR, so what are other places?
Dominican Republic's the only place outside of Europe
Okay.
for me.
And was that during this run, or was that
That was in
before?
2008
Okay.
to visit a friend that was in the Peace Corps. And so we stayed in country. It wasn't on resorts. We stayed in the mountains. We had spiders the size of your head running around, which is my personal
Jesus.
hell. Had to sleep in the mosquito nets. They killed like a 6 or 8 foot python in our house one night after I wasn't there. It was just insane.
Okay.
And I would never, ever, ever recommend that someone travel there off resort
Yeah.
without a guide, because you'll never get to where you're going.
Huh. I'm trying to think of anything else. You think of anything else?
I think we've covered.
I was
a
going
lot.
to say, is there anything we've missed that you...
pretty comprehensive.
Shit. One of the things I forgot to ask. Have you ever thought about starting a blog or a podcast or anything to kind of almost like push more people into traveling or figuring out how to be more budget conscious?
Yeah, I've considered it, and I've talked about it with some friends a little bit, and it's a very, if you want to make money at it or do it for any financial gain, it's a very hard market to break into.
Right.
Because every idiot with a camera has a YouTube blog of their travels. And
Okay.
many of them are like really shitty edits where their one sentence is chops of like 15 minutes of talking. I'm thinking, how the hell did you even put this together? A lot are couples traveling. It just isn't good necessarily, but it's hard to cut through that.
Yeah.
And I've considered writing it as kind of like we're talking, like how does just a normal dude do travel?
Because that's what I'm thinking. I would think some of the ones on YouTube would either be so cheap or crappily produced that it's not very good, or they're high end and they're staying in very expensive hotels and shit like that.
They're staying in the best places. They have their drones. They have their like Sony A7 IIs, and they really are doing that for work.
Yeah.
The high end stuff, and I don't mind throwing together so far maybe Instagram stories. I've written a couple little small stories about why you should go to this place, but you hate to spend your time while you're doing it trying to create some production value,
Right.
because it does take time to make these, as you know. I mean, it's not just throw it up on YouTube. These people that travel perpetually have time because they don't have to come back to work.
Well, and I think of like whenever I travel, I don't carry a camera because the phones are so good now. I carry my phone, but I don't use it as anything other than a camera. Like I don't check on Facebook. I don't check on Instagram. All I do is take pictures to kind of be in the moment. And I feel like some of those people are missing out on being in the moment.
I fall in that trap sometimes as well. I realize that I'm so focused on getting my story uploaded and talking about it, and then I've been up there for 45 minutes. Oh, I got to get that cable car down. But I've been on damn Instagram the whole time.
Yeah.
And so you really do, especially solo traveling, you really do have to make yourself just sit down and enjoy the moment.
Right.
When you're with friends, it's easy because you're enjoying it together and you're discussing how pretty is that mountain. When you're alone, sometimes you just kind of look at it and go, well, there it is.
Yeah.
So it is, when you talk like being in the moment, being present, that has been my focus more lately.
Okay.
Which...
And does it kind of help that you've been some of the places multiple times to where...
It does. I don't feel like now that I have to check things off a list.
Or you have to catalog them.
If I'm in a city... Oslo, I didn't do anything in Oslo. I rode a bike around. I walked around. I cooked food at the hostel. I met this awesome girl. There's also a teacher from France, and we played some French card game that I didn't understand with these other Canadian girls, and it was all in French, and I had no idea what we were doing, but it was great, and I'm glad I didn't go sit at a bar and spend $100.
Right.
But I didn't really see or check all the boxes in Oslo. Well, that's cool.
Are there any of the places where you just kind of walk around the city at night and just to kind of experience what regular people who live there kind of take for granted, I would say?
Yeah, I've done that now in Prague. I really just enjoy walking around the city. I go to the shops the local people eat at. I go to the little cafes and coffee shops, and not everything you would necessarily find on the tourist kind of list, and some of it I wouldn't even write home about. I wouldn't put it on an Instagram post even. But it's just a nice day. Enjoy your day, relax. Which you need to do if you travel long term. If you're traveling for 50, 60 days, not every day can be Friday night.
Right.
I've done that, did that 2 summers ago. Every day was Friday night. And I gained like 20 pounds that summer.
Good Lord.
Because every meal was the big, I gotta eat this, gotta eat that, gotta drink this, gotta drink that, gotta go out and get drunk, go to this bar, go to these clubs. And really, if you're traveling for 2 or 3 weeks, do it. If you're traveling for 2 months, slow it down and
Pace
just
yourself.
go to the cafe and make dinner for yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you have somewhere where we can follow you and see all your adventures?
Yeah, I have a Instagram. I don't even know what the name is on my Instagram. That's how bad I am. What is my name? My name is Wamola with a 0.
WHAML0.
Let's see, what am I? Oh, sorry, WHAM0LA.
Oh, okay.
So that makes a lot of sense. Should make it something normal. But I guess just message Jody. And he'll send you,
That's how you
he'll
find
send
me.
you my Instagram.
Jody will
It's not going to
retweet
be that
your
exciting.
things.
Oh, no, I'll tag you and everything.
Just tag it up. And yeah, I should
You're
do
going to
it.
see a super big spike in like 2 new followers.
Hey. I mean, I'm only up to 413. So I'm killing it. Only 479 posts. I've had Instagram for like 10 years.
Oh, my God. That's okay.
Yeah, you know.
There's a woman I connected with on a dating app that she pushed me to follow her on Instagram, because a lot of them do. And I noticed she has not posted a photo in her feed in a year and a half.
Yeah.
But she posts to stories every single day. I'm like, what? Why do you even have Instagram?
Yeah. I just learned what stories were this summer. Hannah Slaughter explained it to me. She's like, in Instagram, your stories, you can go, huh?
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, I'm
What is the
fussing
story?
at a friend of mine who's in Banff right now that she keeps posting the stories not to her feed. I'm like, there's a thing called highlights. You need to dump all of these into highlights so that
Yeah.
people can access them later.
Learned about the highlights because
Yeah.
like Snapchat is cool for like your hood rat stuff.
Yeah.
Like 3 a.m., Snapchat it. Facebook is cool for your mom and your grandmother. Instagram, but then the stories and the highlights are where you put like your day to day. Here
Yep.
are all the things
Yep.
I did in Banff. And then throw those like 3 or 4 real good photos in a gallery.
Yep.
So I've learned, take 100 pictures and maybe 3 or 4 are good, and I'll throw them on there, and it looks like I'm having I'm living the dream. But then, like the other 200 days, I'm just working a lot.
It got you on this podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
On a school night.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, on that note, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Enjoyed it.
you, Chris. Chris, who doesn't work for a living, apparently.
Wait, hey now.
See ya.